Many people assume that attraction begins with impressive words. They believe the secret is saying something witty, clever, or entertaining enough to instantly capture a woman's attention. But in reality, the strongest attraction often grows in a completely different way. It is not always about trying to impress someone. In fact, some of the men who create the most natural and lasting attraction are not trying to impress at all. Instead, they communicate in a calm, grounded way that quietly sends signals of confidence, awareness, and sincerity. There are a few simple words that experienced, emotionally mature men tend to use naturally in conversation. These words are not complicated or dramatic, yet they carry a deeper emotional message. When used sincerely, they communicate clarity, attention, and appreciation. Surprisingly, many younger men rarely use them, not because they are difficult words, but because they have not yet learned how emotional communication works in real human interactions. Before exploring these words, it is important to understand something about communication. People often believe conversations are only about the literal meaning of sentences. However, in most situations, the emotional tone behind the words matters much more than the words themselves. The human brain constantly reads signals beyond language. Tone of voice, eye contact, posture, and the energy someone brings into a conversation all send powerful messages. This is why two people can say exactly the same sentence but create completely different reactions. One person might sound uncertain or tense, while another sounds calm and comfortable. Even though the words are identical, the emotional impact can be very different. Human beings are naturally sensitive to these signals, often recognizing them subconsciously. This difference in emotional communication is one reason older men sometimes appear more naturally attractive in conversation. It is not necessarily because they are more physically attractive or more intelligent. Often it is because they approach conversations with a different mindset. They are not trying to perform or prove their value. They simply speak honestly about what they think and feel. That relaxed confidence changes the entire emotional atmosphere of an interaction. When someone speaks without hesitation or overthinking, their words feel more grounded and authentic. Authentic communication tends to make conversations feel safe and comfortable, which encourages the other person to relax and open up. One of the simplest words that communicates this sense of clarity is the word want. On the surface, it seems like an ordinary word, but psychologically, it carries a strong signal of intention. When a person calmly expresses what they want, it shows that they are comfortable with their feelings and clear about their direction. Think about how many conversations include hesitant phrases such as maybe, if you want, or I'm not sure. These phrases often appear polite, but they can also suggest uncertainty. When someone avoids expressing their intentions directly, the conversation may feel slightly unclear or unfocused. Now imagine a different approach. Instead of speaking with hesitation, someone calmly says something like, I would like to spend more time talking with you, or I want to invite you for coffee this weekend. The message is not aggressive or controlling. It is simply honest and clear. Clarity creates a sense of emotional stability. When people communicate their intentions openly, the interaction often feels more relaxed because there is less confusion about what someone means. Honesty removes the pressure of guessing and allows conversations to flow more naturally. It is important to understand that expressing what you want does not mean pushing or pressuring someone. True confidence is not about forcing outcomes. It is about being comfortable, expressing your thoughts while still respecting the other person's feelings and choices. When communication is honest in this way, conversations tend to feel more genuine. People are often drawn to interactions that feel real rather than rehearsed. Authentic moments create emotional comfort, and emotional comfort allows connections to develop naturally over time. Another interesting aspect of natural communication is the ability to slow down and truly listen. Many people enter conversations with the goal of saying something impressive, but meaningful connection often grows when someone pays attention instead of trying to perform. When a person listens carefully and responds thoughtfully, their words carry more weight because they reflect genuine observation. This is where another powerful element of conversation begins to appear: the ability to explain why something matters. When someone shares a simple thought and then adds a reason behind it, the message becomes more personal and meaningful. Instead of sounding generic, it begins to show real attention and awareness. For example, telling someone that you enjoy a conversation is pleasant, but explaining why you enjoy it creates a deeper sense of connection. When people hear the reasons behind appreciation or interest, they often feel recognized and valued on a more personal level. Recognition is one of the most powerful emotional experiences in human interaction. Most people move through daily life feeling somewhat unseen or misunderstood. When someone notices something genuine about them, even a small detail, it can create a surprisingly meaningful emotional moment. These small moments of recognition are often the beginning of deeper connection. They allow conversations to move beyond surface-level topics and into a more authentic space where people feel comfortable being themselves. Older individuals who have experienced many different types of conversations often develop this ability naturally. They learn to observe, listen, and respond with thoughtful clarity instead of rushing to impress. Their words reflect attention rather than performance, and when attention is genuine, it changes the emotional tone of a conversation in a subtle but powerful way. Instead of feeling like a social exchange where people are trying to impress each other, the interaction begins to feel more human, more relaxed, and more meaningful. This shift in emotional atmosphere is where real connection begins to grow. When people feel comfortable and understood, curiosity naturally appears. Curiosity invites further conversation, and deeper conversation creates the opportunity for stronger emotional bonds. These simple communication patterns show that attraction is rarely about complicated techniques. Instead, it often grows through small moments of clarity, attention, and sincerity that make conversations feel authentic and memorable. When conversations begin to feel authentic, something subtle starts to change in the emotional atmosphere. People relax, they stop trying to perform, and begin to speak more naturally. This is the environment where meaningful connection develops. Instead of focusing on how they appear, both people begin paying attention to how the interaction feels. One simple way this deeper connection grows is through explanation. When someone shares not only what they feel but also why they feel it, the conversation becomes more personal. A small word that often creates this shift is because. It may seem like an ordinary word, yet it adds depth and intention to almost any statement. Imagine telling someone, "I enjoy talking with you." It is kind and positive, but it can also sound somewhat general. Now consider the same sentence with a reason attached. "I enjoy talking with you because you notice details that most people miss." Suddenly, the message feels more meaningful. It shows attention and awareness. When someone explains the reason behind their thoughts, they reveal that they are truly observing the other person. This kind of observation creates a sense of recognition, and recognition is something people deeply appreciate. Most everyday conversations stay on the surface, often revolving around routine topics or casual compliments. However, when someone points out a unique quality or a thoughtful behavior, the interaction becomes more memorable. The other person begins to feel that they are being seen as an individual rather than simply another conversation partner. That feeling can quietly strengthen emotional connection. Attention is one of the rarest gifts in modern communication. Many conversations today happen quickly and often include distractions. People may listen only partially while thinking about what they will say next. But when someone truly listens and responds thoughtfully, their presence becomes noticeable. This presence often changes the energy of the conversation. Instead of feeling rushed or shallow, the interaction feels calm and focused. When people feel that their thoughts and personality are being noticed, they naturally become more open. They begin sharing more about themselves and asking more questions in return. Curiosity often grows from this moment. When someone feels recognized, they become curious about the person who recognized them. They want to understand who this person is and what they think. That curiosity is one of the quiet foundations of attraction, because attraction rarely appears instantly. It tends to grow through a series of small emotional moments. These moments might include feeling heard during a conversation, laughing together naturally, or realizing that someone genuinely understands a perspective you shared. Each of these experiences creates a positive emotional memory. Human memory tends to hold on to emotional experiences more strongly than simple information. People might forget the exact words used in a conversation, but they remember how those words made them feel. If an interaction creates feelings of comfort, appreciation, and calm interest, those feelings remain long after the conversation ends. This is why simple explanations using words like because can have such a meaningful effect. They transform general statements into personal observations. Instead of sounding routine, the conversation begins to reflect genuine awareness. People often feel more connected when they sense that someone has taken the time to notice who they are beyond surface impressions. This recognition encourages emotional openness. When emotional openness appears, conversations become more engaging and enjoyable for both people. Another interesting aspect of calm communication is pacing. Some individuals speak quickly, jumping from topic to topic in an effort to keep conversations exciting. While energy can be engaging, constant intensity can sometimes create subtle pressure. The interaction may begin to feel like a performance rather than a shared moment. In contrast, someone who speaks at a relaxed pace often creates a more comfortable atmosphere. They allow moments of silence without feeling anxious. Silence in conversation is not always awkward. In many cases, it simply allows both people time to think and absorb what has been said. This relaxed rhythm often communicates confidence without needing dramatic words. When someone appears comfortable in silence, it signals that they are not trying to force the conversation. Instead, they trust that the interaction will unfold naturally. Trust is an important part of emotional connection. When people feel they can speak freely without being judged or rushed, they begin to reveal more genuine aspects of themselves. Authentic moments begin to replace rehearsed responses. Over time, these authentic moments create a sense of familiarity. Even if two people have only spoken for a short period, the interaction can feel surprisingly comfortable because the conversation allowed both individuals to express themselves honestly. This natural flow often leads to another important element of meaningful communication: appreciation. While compliments are common in social interactions, appreciation carries a slightly different emotional message. Compliments often focus on visible qualities such as appearance or style. While these comments can be kind, they are also relatively common and sometimes expected. Appreciation, however, tends to recognize something deeper about a person's character, behavior, or mindset. When someone expresses appreciation for a thoughtful action, a unique perspective, or a personal quality, the message often feels more genuine. It shows that the speaker values something beyond surface impressions. This kind of recognition can create a powerful emotional moment because many people rarely hear appreciation for the qualities that truly define them. When those qualities are acknowledged, the interaction begins to feel meaningful rather than routine. As conversations move into this space of attention, explanation, and recognition, the emotional atmosphere continues to shift. The interaction feels less like a casual exchange and more like a real connection forming between two individuals. And within these small, thoughtful moments, attraction often begins to grow quietly and naturally without pressure or performance. As conversations deepen and people begin to feel more comfortable with each other, appreciation becomes one of the most powerful elements of communication. Appreciation is different from simply offering praise or giving a compliment. While compliments often highlight something visible or obvious, appreciation recognizes something meaningful about a person's character, mindset, or behavior. For example, telling someone they look nice can be pleasant, but it usually stays on the surface of the interaction. When someone instead says something like, "I really appreciate how thoughtful you are," the message feels different. It reflects attention and genuine recognition. It shows that the speaker has noticed something deeper about the person they are talking to. Human beings naturally value recognition. Many people move through their daily lives feeling that others only notice the obvious parts of them. When someone acknowledges a deeper quality, such as kindness, patience, curiosity, or insightfulness, it can create a surprisingly strong emotional impact. These small moments of appreciation often leave lasting impressions, not because the words are dramatic, but because they make someone feel seen and valued. When people experience that feeling during a conversation, the interaction becomes more memorable. However, there is one important factor that determines whether these words truly create connection. That factor is authenticity. If someone expresses appreciation without sincerity, the message may feel forced. People are very sensitive to emotional signals, and the brain quickly notices when words and behavior do not match. This is where the idea of congruence becomes important. Congruence simply means that a person's words, tone, and body language all communicate the same message. When someone speaks calmly, maintains natural eye contact, and expresses themselves honestly, their communication feels aligned. When alignment is present, conversations feel comfortable and trustworthy. Nothing appears exaggerated or rehearsed. The other person senses that the speaker is being genuine, and that sense of authenticity encourages openness. On the other hand, when words sound confident, but body language shows nervousness or hesitation, the brain detects the mismatch immediately. Even if the listener cannot explain why something feels unusual, they may sense that the interaction is not fully natural. This is why emotional presence matters more than memorizing certain phrases. Communication is not about repeating the perfect sentence. It is about expressing thoughts and observations in a way that reflects genuine attention and honesty. The three simple words discussed earlier, want, because, and appreciate, are not powerful because they are special or rare. Their strength comes from the emotional signals they carry beneath the surface. Each one communicates a different but important message. When someone calmly expresses what they want, it shows intention and clarity. When they explain something using because, it reveals attention and thoughtfulness. When they say they appreciate something meaningful about another person, it communicates recognition and respect. Together, these elements create conversations that feel authentic and emotionally engaging. Instead of sounding rehearsed or overly polished, the interaction becomes natural and sincere. And sincerity is something people instinctively respond to. Another important aspect of meaningful communication is patience. Genuine connection rarely happens instantly. It develops gradually through shared moments of understanding, laughter, curiosity, and appreciation. Each of these moments adds to the emotional experience of the conversation. Interestingly, the moments people remember most are often the quiet ones. They remember when someone listened carefully, when someone noticed a detail others overlooked, or when someone expressed appreciation in a sincere way. These experiences stand out because they are relatively rare. In many interactions, people focus on appearing impressive rather than being present. But when someone simply pays attention and communicates honestly, the conversation feels refreshingly different. This difference often leads to a sense of comfort. When people feel comfortable, they relax emotionally. When they relax, they become more open and curious. And curiosity naturally invites further conversation and connection. Over time, these small emotional moments create a positive memory associated with the interaction. Even if the exact words are forgotten, the feeling of the conversation remains. People remember that they felt heard, understood, and appreciated. That emotional memory is what makes an interaction meaningful. It transforms an ordinary conversation into an experience that people want to repeat. Instead of feeling like a brief social exchange, it becomes a moment of genuine human connection. In the end, the real secret behind meaningful conversations is not about saying more or trying harder. It is about communicating with clarity, attention, and sincerity. When someone expresses what they want honestly, explains their thoughts thoughtfully, and shows appreciation for meaningful qualities, their words naturally carry greater impact. Authentic communication does not need to be complicated. Sometimes the simplest words create the most powerful impressions when they come from a place of genuine awareness and respect. And when conversations are built on that foundation, connection grows naturally. People feel comfortable being themselves, curiosity appears effortlessly, and the interaction leaves behind a sense of warmth that lingers long after the conversation ends.